Happy first day of spring. Wow, it has been a crazy time. It's actually spring equinox, so if you follow the old Celtic calendar, pagan calendars, this is mid-spring. The first day of spring was St. Bridget's Day, which is Groundhog's Day. Um, but everyone else considers spring equinox the first day of spring, right? Your little calendar at home says today is the first day of spring. It's an interesting day. Yesterday here in Salt Lake, there were earthquakes, like all day. We felt two of them where I live, but I have a friend who lives out further west who was feeling earthquakes and aftershocks all day long. The angel on top of the temple downtown, that temple, lost his trumpet. He's been holding that trumpet for like 100 years or something like that at this point, so that was crazy. Of course, everything with everyone being in either quarantine or social distancing, and then all of the conspiracy theories that are now coming up with 5G or Tom Hanks or the Illuminati or trying to find a reason why any of this is happening that's outside of you is not the point. Trying to say all of this is happening because, and then filling in the blank with anything other than I incarnated in this timeline to experience it and create it myself. So today I wore my favorite shirt. It's the main rule of magic. As above, so below. As within, so without. Okay? If you without forgetting the Q and in theory. I don't know what that is, Chris. If you want to let me know, that'd be awesome, but I don't know what that is. It's an extremely interesting thing. Sorry, I have to pour my coffee. It's an extremely interesting thing to be witnessing people who claim to speak about magic, who claim to understand that we are all here playing a role, to then have any blame or have any shame or any judgment or any resentment or any anger that stays as that, instead of recognizing that you feel that way because you want to. I didn't show up today with makeup on like I normally do, for a couple of reasons. One is that since the earthquakes, I've been doing a lot of crying, purging, and the energy is just super, super intense. Utah's already spent over 200% more on groceries prior to all this, so there's a lot of fear and panic just in the airwaves around me. And then also knowing that I've been pumping dragon energy into the alchemic circle that is Salt Lake City for months now. Well, I've lived here since I was 3 years old. I've lived in the exact same house. I can see the city. I have a great view of all the different points and sections. So I have been working this magic unconsciously for years. So to finally really watch it all coming to fruition and recognizing what that probably means for a lot of people. That's why I said in my post yesterday that it's not about that you're afraid of all of the fear. Most people who find me and follow me, you're afraid of the responsibility it is to be powerful. Because for some time now, whether we want it to or not, people are going to have to keep dying to continue making a point. In 2016, it was Syria. Do you guys remember those videos of people, literally, possibly their last videos that ever were created, like they died right afterwards? And Americans especially get so, and Australians, I feel. There's a reason why Australians and Americans, we're very similar in a lot of the, just a lot of places. If you look at graphs, like Australia and US will be like right there with each other, like incarceration rates and crime rates and uh, birth rates and home births and all these things. It's because we're isolated. Our countries, Canadians, yeah, too in a way, but you guys are just so nice. We're very isolated. That's how Americans became. Hi everyone who's joining, welcome. We became very isolated. Our country was not torn to pieces after World War I and World War II, and we were creating more than 70% of the world's stuff during the 1950s to 1980s. And then once everybody was able to rebuild, and then the Cold War was happening, and all of that was going on, and then ending, we started shifting towards technology, and Americans were no longer manufacturing based. That was going to China, that was going to places, just because it didn't make sense to send the materials all the way to us to then ship it other places. Like, just globally, it wasn't making sense. We were becoming a global nation, or a global society. We were no longer very isolated. And then the dot-com bubble of the 90s, and then Facebook coming out in the 2000s, and the fact that I can have this conversation that could potentially reach over 1 billion people, because there are over 1 billion people on Facebook. I have the capacity to speak to 1/8 of the world every single time I come live. And then all of my stuff is public, so technically I'm speaking to the world. And I upload all of my stuff onto YouTube. And I have everything that I say. So my own safety and security has to be within myself only to do that. Hey Priya, hi everyone, hey Stephanie. I have been saying what I've been saying for the last few weeks, for months if not years. Every time there's been any sort of pandemic scare, an epidemic somewhere, I'm just reminded of the fact that humans are very insignificant in the grand scheme of things. That we are sentient beings trying to fight for resources instead of recognizing that they're unlimited. That we cause each other so much pain, and we have so much judgment and anger, and we want to blame and shame because we're not willing to admit that we're so powerful, that we created all of this for our somehow really fucked up pleasure. You wouldn't have incarnated on this planet right now if you didn't to experience the magic of being able to play the game of as within, so without. Since China was on quarantine, there has been 100 million tons, 100 million metric tons, I think, of pollutants that were not pumped into the atmosphere. That's the same amount that the whole country of Chile puts out in a year. China puts out in like a month. Because of that, NASA can actually see green in China from the International Space Station for the first time in over a decade. Same thing with Italy. The canals in Venice are clear and clean. Dolphins are coming to shore again. Since 1950, the human population has doubled in size. I remember being in school and it was a big deal that we were hitting like 5 billion people. And now we are already hitting 8, and I'm literally turning 33 this year. 32. While the human population has increased by 50%, doubled. Wildlife population has decreased by 60%. Animals and species that were here for millions of years before us, we've wiped out because of our hatred and our greed and the suffering that we chose to play. But I'm tired of playing that game, guys. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of people claiming that they're enlightened, and then the second that something goes sideways, they force the blame on someone else. They're not willing to take the responsibility of being an all-powerful being, living a human experience, because we got bored with being all-powerful and all-knowing and all-present. We still are all those things. That's why I'm wearing the green Tara mala today, why I'm burning green Tara incense. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. It means to be the tree of life that reaches up and touches every star, and the star that crosses over and becomes the tree of life. The perfect Merkaba center. The Philosopher's Stone. You are magic. You have magic inside of you right now. Your children have magic. And every time your kids don't listen to you, it's because there's a part of you that really gets turned on and gets off on not being listened to. It's hot as fuck to be ignored when you have something important to say. Because then you have to work that much harder. You have to strive that much more. And that's what we've been indoctrinated to know. But what we need to recognize with everything from COVID-19 to the earthquakes, it wasn't just Salt Lake. They were happening all over the world. Major recalibration, major shifts. Major shifts. And then I wake up, and the first thing after I've taken time for myself I see is conspiracy theories about 5G going into schools. And pedophilia and the end of the sex ring, like all this shit that doesn't resonate at all to me, because people would rather stay in their phones focused out here instead of recognizing that we are being given a grand opportunity to come inside of ourselves and recognize why we are creating this as a collective consciousness. Why are we choosing this? And we're choosing everything that's happened from Syria in 2016 to Trump being elected in 2016 to everything that's happened in the last 4 years, decade, however fucking long. And no one wants to do anything about it. You want to sit there and talk. You don't want to go internally. When you do internal work, you don't want to go all the way down. You're so afraid of the fact that you were powerful enough to create this, that you will never admit it. And until you admit it, we will never change the world. I am not saying anything now that I wasn't saying 6 months ago, that I wasn't saying a year ago, that I wasn't saying 4 years ago, and yet every day my inbox is filled with more and more hate mail, more and more attacks, more and more anger directed at me. And I know in my own security and safety that I am fine. I am more than fine. I am great because my rhetoric hasn't changed. The world has changed. Balancing the divine feminine and divine masculine isn't going like this for the rest of your life. It's coming together. It's coming into the center of your own body, into your own heart, into the deepest depths of who you really are and what you really are and how you truly, truly serve this planet. That is what all of this that's happening right now is preparing you for, so that you can go in and solidify the internal scaffolding, to do the internal work necessary to have so much anger and suffering and pain and hate thrown at you. All week long, I've had the same mantra. I am a lighthouse on a cliff, not a light boat in the storm. I'm not a lifeboat for you to come to. I'm not bobbing around like a bunch of lights out there. I have here a giant lighthouse. Waves can crash onto me. People die crashing into the rocks because they just don't see how I'm lighting the path for them. And that's their choice. Their sacrifice is made so that the rest of us can see what's happening. And Mother Gaia has been sacrificing and sacrificing, and she needed to prove to y'all that we are so fucking insignificant, that all of your tiny little worries just don't matter. They just don't. You have the opportunity to live the most beautiful, blissful, joyful, creative, expansive, magical existence. But with great power comes great responsibility. And up until now, we've been really good at shirking off responsibility. It's going to be someone else's problem one day. It's going to be our kids' problem one day. And our kids who have come down now after the veil was lifted in 2012, they are powerful beings. Powerful beings. And they weren't going to wait for us to keep messing up. Whether they're conscious of it or not, the reason why this virus isn't attacking children is because somehow, in some way, their collective consciousness is strong enough to show us that there is a new way. There is a more powerful way, a more peaceful way, an unconditionally loving way to live together on planet Earth. We can all be so blissfully prosperous. We can be so wealthy. We can give and be selfless and recognize exactly who we are and give every day while still being fully supported and fully secure in our own lives. Because as you are supported within yourself, knowing that you are creating everything for some reason, and that reason is just because you fucking want to. Because you're a god wrapped in human skin, pretending to be weak when all I see is power. I don't know how to be anyone except for me. I don't know how to project anything except for who I am, which is why I wake up every morning and make sure that I know who I am. And I question my knowings constantly, and I question what's going on around me, and I live by the axiom that as within, so without, so having must be evidence of wanting. So for some reason, I wanted everything that has ever happened in my life. And once I realized that, all of a sudden I can have anything that I want in my life, because now I'm consciously creating it instead of allowing my unconscious life to run it. We've been unconsciously allowing our entire system to fall apart around us, and now we're witnessing it. So what the hell are we going to do about it? Hello, everyone. So normally I only pull dragon cards for invocations, but today I was really being called to work with this deck. It's the Archangel Power deck. There still will be a dragon card, and then also at the end I'm going to pull a self-care card for what we can do together for self-care. Hold on. So the Four of Gabriel. Time for a celebration, abundant rewards for hard work. Release yourself from the burdensome situation. So I want you guys to look at this card. Today is spring equinox. Doesn't that look like a perfect, beautiful spring day? You got this couple, they're like dancing. There's all these birds flying around. It's just like this gorgeous, release yourself from burdensome situations. You don't need to be tied into all of the fear and all the crazy that's happening right now. You are allowed, you are have permission if you needed it, which you didn't, but if you needed it to hear it, there you go. You have permission to turn off social media after this, of course. You have permission to do inner work cord cuttings. You have permission to spend some of that money that you would normally be trying to nickel and dime on something for yourself, because right now it doesn't really matter. We don't know what the fuck's happening. So might as well do some inner work instead of trying to focus everything on the external when they don't even know what's going on. I'm so like lost in my emails with how many emails I've gotten from financial institutions and other people that I owe money to. I'm not sure if I owe my bills this month or not. So of course I'm still going to make sure that my bills are there in case I do. But yeah, I definitely have made some investments here and there that I normally wouldn't have, just because I was guided to. And they've returned. I've had my most profitable week of 2020 while all this shit's been going on. I had my most profitable day on Sunday because I haven't changed. I've changed immensely to other people who've been witnessing, but my soul, who I truly am, hasn't changed. My human self has just continued. I've remembered more, which is why I can show up and speak to something that I know could potentially reach billions of people without fear, because I know who I am, and I know what I am, and I know how I serve, and I welcome everyone into my space to learn those tenets about themselves. I don't have a process of teaching you who you are. I have a process of holding you until you can recognize the grandness and power of who you are. And that's what this card is saying, is that you can be, look, there's a man and a woman, he's holding her, she's swooning, she's dressed to the nines, and then there's an angel like watching all of it. This angel being, you know, sometimes I think of it as like my oversoul, like a little bit separate, because that part of me is orchestrating all of the things that are happening in my life, and then I get to become more and more conscious of what I'm creating, and I can be blissfully happy within a few minutes of sobbing in absolute terror, because I remember that I'm creating it, and it feels good to be that powerful. It feels good to feel and not be an unfeeling robot, because gods can't feel. That's why we incarnate into human form. Why I teach sensual embodied motherhood, your 5 senses and your intuition, so that you can be blissfully happy even when your kids don't fucking listen to you. Even when your daughter colors on Sharpie on every wall in the house. And then you can do the inner work to change that, so that eventually those havings are no longer your evidence, because you don't want them anymore. You have something else because you want something else, because you're conscious that you're creating, and you're not just unconsciously walking through life. Even many people I know who have very successful businesses, they come to me because it's not consistent, because they don't actually have the ability to hold that much. They're having this level, the ability to have is like this much, instead of being able to be abundant, fully abundant in everything. So let's see what dragons are coming out along with this card to play. Does anybody have any questions? Anything going on? Let me see how far we've... Oh, pretty good. Okay. I was going to do this live stream from outside, but it's raining today, which is not very surprising, because I literally bawled for hours yesterday. Guys, all week long hasn't even coming. All week long. Thor's dragon, okay? Lightning god. Have you seen that hammer? It can smash. Protects you in times of change. A time of rapid transition and transformation. Relax. You are safe. He's come out not only in the readings that I've done for you guys all you guys, but like in my own private group he came out. With other people that have done private invocations this week, he's come out. Like, he just keeps coming out to keep reminding us, you know, and I very much have been that, right? Like, today was, like, I told you I purposefully didn't wear makeup because I knew it was going to be more of a releasing, crying day. That's because I know my body and I don't need to be afraid of showing up. Like, I put on enough makeup that I wouldn't be whited out, but like you guys know, I usually have my eyes done to the nines. And it just, he's like, I gotta come back up all the time. Yeah, he is. It is Joy, right? He keeps coming up to be like, hey guys, I know it keeps getting crazier and crazier with earthquakes and volcanoes and COVID-19 and conspiracy theories and all this crazy shit going on, but you're safe. Which is why I told you I know how safe I am, which is why I become such a solid container for people to come work in, why they can sit there and like, boom, boom, they're like, dematerialize, rematerialize, dematerialize, rematerialize, dematerialize, rematerialize. Because I'm just like, I am not just a lighthouse. I'm the lighthouse on the cliff. Like, I'm the cliff as well. I should say I'm the lighthouse and the cliff. Because I'm so solid in what work I am meant to do, because I work every day in remembering my divine mission that was given to me from the Intergalactic Council of the Divine Feminine, however many freaking eons ago it was, when I was the first blueprint deliverer to incarnate on Earth, and I haven't left since. I have never left my post since the first time I incarnated on Earth 80,000 lifetimes ago. When people tell me I'm an old soul, you guys have no fucking idea. He is rising up in collective knowing of who he is. Yeah, that's true. Okay, let's see. So so I want you to kind of look at this though. He's like up here, and they're just like down here having their little tea party, right? Because he's up on the cliff, right? He's up there on a cliff. And they're like down below him, having, like, he's just got them. He's got them. He's just like, he's good. Well, you can't remember it all, obviously, but it's more like why I do invocations is so that anything that you don't really need for this lifetime, you can onboard without actually consciously remembering it all, and you just have access to it, which is why I teach so much about knowing your worth and knowing things in your bones instead of understanding, because there are some things that I say that I'm like, I didn't know that, or I literally watched one of my past lives literally just like appear while I was in the middle of a live stream 2 days ago, something that I had never remembered before. So I work very much with only like consciously remembering things that you really need to consciously remember for this lifetime. And the rest of the learnings from previous lifetime, you can onboard that while you're sleeping, while you're meditating. You don't really have to do the conscious process of the digging and the clearing and the thing that other people make you do on every single thing in every single lifetime. I only make you do those on things that you've been guided to know you have to do consciously in this lifetime, and the rest of it, you can call it spiritual bypassing. It's a fucking bullshit term, but yeah. Bypasses are useful, is all I'm trying to say. The reason why we have coronary bypasses is because the heart, okay, I have a 3D printed heart for this exact fucking thing. And what's even funnier is that it's actually fucked up. My brother, when he made it, broke it. So, this is a heart. See all those lines, see all those veins, and then on the inside of it even, there's ventricles, there's all of that stuff, okay? Let's say that one of these, because the ones that are on the outside are actually like feeding the heart itself, and then these big gnarly guys come in and out to feed the rest of the body and the lungs. But let's just say that one of these is all messed up. They do a bypass by realizing that this vein is so deteriorated that they can't fix it, so they will bypass the vein completely to move you over and just not use that chunk of your vein anymore. They build you a whole new vein. Because I'm from the medical field, this term spiritual bypassing literally never made sense to me, because that's how I understand the word bypass. I'm not saying that there aren't things that you absolutely need to consciously process and consciously pull out of those skeletons out of the closet and give them a proper burial. Absolutely. But that is not what most people who are telling you that you are trauma, like that they need to work with your trauma, they want to pull all of the skeletons out, even the ones that aren't yours, even ones that honestly could probably bury themselves. Yeah, okay. Now, the next dragon that came up, so you got Thor's dragon, he's up here, he's protecting these guys. And what do you think is going to happen after these guys have their beautiful sunny day? Oh yeah, exactly what's going to happen, because we're all on quarantine. Thank God my husband has a vasectomy. Omega Dragon is the overlighting, I'm going to say overlighting for today, because today is the first day of spring. She is the Omega. Right? She's the feminine aspect of creativity. Harness the divine feminine power of creation. Set an intention. Hold your vision. Birth the higher consciousness. Okay. So if you guys know anything about like animals, when a mama is going to have a baby, the dad doesn't like stay next to her. He is out prowling, like leaving a perimeter. And that's what I see this guy. Thor's Red Dragon is like, I gotta keep everybody safe because we are all birthing this new beautiful planet. And when it's done birthing, it's gonna be this. It's gonna be time for celebration, abundant rewards for hard work. Release yourself from burdens and situations. This is releasing yourself from the burden of doing shadow and light integration work. This is allowing you to go straight into creation, to use those energies, those feelings, that trapped energy and emotion to create something. You guys have been hearing me talk about it for a few months now. I will have a very emotional day, and then I tend to come on live to create something from it, to create content for my followers and for my patrons. You know, maybe I create a whole course. Like, I've created so much content for probably not even the next 6 months. I have to sit there and see how many things might be able to go together. I'm thinking of just running a 6-month academy instead of trying to break these up into different things and just each one's a module. So today's dragon invocation is really going to be focusing on like just knowing that you're safe even though the world's falling apart around you, because you are birthing. You've been doing this work, whether you've been doing it because whether or not you're just starting on your spiritual part of that journey is irrelevant. Prior to knowing anything really about spirituality or metaphysics, I had been doing a self-care, like getting my shit together journey for about 4.5 years. And then all of a sudden spirituality kicked in, and that's been the last about 2 years, almost 3 years. So total, from when I first started seeing a therapist because I was so depressed and suicidal from having fibromyalgia, to now has been about an 8-year period. How do I know my situation is going to get better? Because you do. Because you sit there with allowing yourself to play with the timelines of what if it isn't, and realize that since the second you were born, you were gonna die. So you better get over dying really quick so that you can start fucking living. Because living in fear is not living. It's existing. It's surviving. This week's Sunday morning coffee with Karen is all about thriving versus surviving, because that is something that we need to do in this new world, definitely. We need to learn how to thrive instead of survive. So you know it because you do the inner work. You know it because you find someone that knows it enough for you to know it. You don't have to know it right now, guys. I know it for you. I already know exactly how powerful, beautiful, abundant, prosperous, magical, amazing each one of you are, no matter what your story is. Your story is your story because you created it. And as soon as you can realize that you are the context, not the content of your story, your world changes. As above, so below. As within, so without. So let's take a moment to go within. Everybody close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Opening your jaw as wide as you can. You can even stick out your tongue. So there's a lot of Kali energy still going on, guys. Let's not joke ourselves. Okay, we're still in the shit. We're still in labor. The amount of people that have been messaging me with like uterine contractions and hip pain and back pain, like, it's because we are collectively birthing right now. So if you never had labor pains before, but you're experiencing pain in some parts of your body, I invite you to reach out to me. We could talk about it. So take that nice deep breath again. Feel into your womb space, into that second chakra. Men and women both have a womb space. And I would invite you to actually put your hands on that space, the space in between your belly button and your groin. So just pretend you were going to have a baby. Just put your hands right there. Inside of you is the capacity to create miracles, is the capacity to create all of the wealth, all of the luck, to create all of the circumstances that you need to live the life of your dreams. The Omega Dragon is all about holding the vision, but you can't hold the vision if your crown, your corona, is closed, or if your third eye is closed, so you only believe what you can actually see, feel, touch. That's why I say sensual motherhood is all five senses and intuition, because you have to be able to trust what you can't see, but what you just know. So what do you see and what do you know as your future can be in abundance as a reward for the hard work that you've been doing already? Whether you've been doing it privately or out loud in public forums, you have all been working so hard for this moment. We have all been collectively working for lifetimes for this moment. And we have to remember that by balancing out the fear with love. We have to grow and expand into our new capacity to live lives that your current self is probably really jealous of. Who you are in 6 months, 12 months, 24 months from now is so unimaginably prosperous and abundant that right now self is allowed to be jealous of how awesome future self is. Because that jealousy is going to be what helps drive the actions necessary to take to become that person. We have the ability to go back in time, but very few people are willing to go into the future and commit to a timeline, because that's a lot of responsibility when you come up to make a big decision. That's why Thor's dragon is here to remind us that we are in rapid transformation. You have to make split-second decisions. I can tell a month ago I got the hit to read some parenting books and I didn't read them, and let me tell you, I wish I would have, because having my kids home, even like with not being able to go to the playground, I homeschool. I'm already used to my kids being home, and I still yesterday got so mad at myself for not listening to my intuition a month ago and reading those books. Because there was a reason. In 2020, red flags are going to be, oh shit, I should have listened, instead of just the little things, little bumps in the road they've been before. And that's okay, we've got plenty of time. Plenty of time. Because time is an illusion, and you can decide how much you're worthy of shifting and changing in any given moment. So just a few more deep breaths here, down in the womb space, allowing for the vision to come down through your chakras, out of the causal plane and down through your crown chakra, your third eye, your throat, your heart, your solar plexus, and to rest in your sacral chakra and to be supported by your root chakra. To know that all of your dreams are fully supported by Mother Gaia, and she will help you bring them to fruition, but you need to be patient. Just as a flower grows underground with all of its roots, and then pokes its head out and grows a stem and leaves, and at the very end buds into the most beautiful flower. You, my darling, are beginning to bud, but you still need patience. I am Maya Gaia, Pachamama, Radio Mama Video, Enia Veori Homini, Enia Veori. Oe veori, oe rio, ui Cristo Ambarigioria Om Tari Tu Re Suha Om Tari Tu Re Suha Om Tari Tu Re Suha Amen. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, and when you're ready, open your eyes. And I'm going to pull one final card from the Self-Care Oracle deck, a message straight from the dragons and Gaia on what you can do for spring equinox to really as within so that we can affect so without. Feel free to leave any comments about your experience as well as I shuffle these. Interesting. So the self-care card that came out was risk. Take a risk. Take a risk. You have the power within to move mountains. I find it very interesting that we have this beautiful angel up here above the mountains here. We have Thor's dragon up on a mountain peak as well. And in the distance here you have this angel. So somehow they're all connected, of course. And they're all connected in the fact that right now you have the Omega, the Holy Divine Mother, watching over you, helping you to create that vision for your life. And right now, while you're being forced to be on your own, and I invite you really to take a risk and tune out and instead tune in. So today or tomorrow, if you can, go out in nature. The other card that's jumping out at me was the one that was right underneath it, so I'm just going to pull it out because I think the risk right now is priorities. I think right now we need to really, really look at those priorities. Look at her. She's looking in a mirror. She's scrying. She's got that water behind her, so she's in ceremony, very obviously in ceremony. Get your priorities straight. When you know what's important, saying no it gets much easier. So when you know what's important, you can say no to other things that aren't important. And what's not important is fighting with people on the freaking internet. Okay? It's not getting riled up about something that someone says. It's about taking a risk and being the higher person, being the bigger person, being that pillar of unconditional love so that people can crash into you over and over and over again and you say, I have you, I got you, I know. It's hard. It is hard work, but the reward is great. True belonging happens when you can sit in a room all by yourself and be blissfully and orgasmically happy with every single shitty thing happening in your life right now. I love you. Happy spring. Talk to you soon.